provides an incentive for an investment. And I can tell you, when I was an old, we provided tax abatement. And what we do now is 10-year tax abatement. That's pretty standard. So what happens is the taxes on the property are frozen. You take a vacant building, empty building, or one that's very highly underutilized, like in downtown, for example. And you say, okay, these taxes are frozen. It's really not generating a lot of taxes. Somebody comes in and puts millions of dollars into it, fix it up, and puts condos and puts businesses on the first floor. You're creating activity. You're bringing people in who are living here, working here, paying earnings taxes, going to the restaurants and eating, and creating economic activity apart from the taxes generated by the property. In 10 years, that entire facility goes completely on the tax rolls to its market rate, that market value after the investment. All the tax abatement properties in the first year of my administration, or virtually all of them, there may have been one or two, I can't think of one, where we had more than 10 years, but they're all going to go back on the tax rolls within a year, completely. So we don't forgive taxes, we don't reduce their taxes, we just freeze them. So if they do sell it to somebody else, it's fine. You know, it's there. And if they don't, somebody's paying taxes on that property. And the other thing is that certainly it's generating more, it's much better than we had before. Now, when I was an alderman, if we had and this is another example, a dilapidated building on an otherwise great block, who's going to buy this building? Squirrels and pigeons are living in a nice block. You like the property, you offer tax abatement, you bring an investor in there, they fix it up, families living in there. I know one situation, you know, I can think of one offhand, where a family lived in there and they were there for 25 years. They were actually living in that building for over 25 years after we got the tax abatement, or maybe not 25, because I guess I got elected 26 years ago, but maybe 20 years they were living in the property. And their kids grew, they went to schools, and, you know, it fixed up the whole block. In other instances is, you know, you got a vacant lot, and it's not generating any taxes, and they built the building. They got tax abatement. 10 years, that building will go completely on the rolls. So I think it's really a rare situation. I'm not saying there aren't any situations where maybe it wasn't a good idea, but there's rarely a situation where tax abatement isn't a positive thing long term, because all the tax abated properties, like I said 10 years ago, are going to be going back on the rolls very, very soon at the full level. That helps us. I think it helps us really increase our base. Most of the population increase occurred within the central corridor between downtown and Forest Park, and a little bit to the north and south. That's where the big population increases have been in the city. And then there's been pockets north and south where there was a really high population loss.
One last quick question. Yeah. When do you think we might hear more about the McKee/plant, whatever?
You know, I don't know. Good question. They're working on a couple of small things right now, and you know, I think what we have to do is wait to see how the credit markets maybe hopefully will loosen up a little bit. I think that'll help.
Question over here.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that come next Tuesday, Proposition E will pass. What concerns me is 5 years down the road, this comes back up again and again and again. Once it's voted down, it can't come back up again.
Correct.
My concern is how then can we initiate something that can be put in place that can stop it from coming up again and again. All you need is one person with $12 million.
Yes,
who
right.
finances this.
Right, absolutely.
And puts out enough money.
Yeah.
And it will be defeated. Okay?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah. I trust the people of St. Louis if armed with the facts, but I
So
hear what you're saying.
what can be done to preclude that from happening?
Okay.
The second question, and the third question. The second question is, with all of this vacant property, what can we do in terms of initiating some kind of homesteading policy to ensure that the buildings that can't be torn down, people can come in and fix them up and put them back on the rolls again?
Yeah, we do that. I'll answer the second question first. Are you finished with the question?
Well, the third
Okay.
question is, LRA has a lot of property, and there are a lot of people who actually want to develop it.
Yeah.
But they're not, quote, big developers. They're individual people. And many of them live on the block where the property is that LRA has. What can be done to make LRA release some of that property so that it can be brought back into the tax rolls?
Yeah. Well, let me answer the last question first. The LRA property is property that the city owns, not because we want to, because nobody else wants it, basically. We get them because on tax sales, people don't pay their taxes, and they're basically, nobody buys them off the courthouse steps, and then ultimately, we end up with them. So we don't want these properties. We're not property managers. We can't afford to maintain them, but we're not going to give them to anybody who doesn't show the ability. I don't care whether you're a big developer or a small one, or an individual. If you don't have the resources, you can't show us that you have the resources to fix that property up. We're just causing a problem if we get that in the hands of somebody who's going to do nothing with it or not enough with it. And we've been burned with that in the past. We have a policy now in place where you have to show your ability to get the financing, and you have to have a plan in place before we will sell you any property. If you don't fix that property up, I think it's within 18 months or something like that, and I guess you can come in and get a reprieve if you can show that we get that property back. We're very careful about that, and historically what happened, the city would sell it to somebody who was well-intentioned and made a bunch of promises, and guess what? Now they've got the property, and it's in the hands of somebody who's not doing anything with it, maybe not paying taxes, and then certainly not fixing it up. So we got to be very careful about
But
that.
there was a clear example about a week or so ago on the news where an individual had a plan, and he went through a number of situations trying to secure the property. He couldn't get his hands on it. He took it to the media. The media blew it up.
Yeah.
And about a few days later, he was able to get that property.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm not
that
familiar with
shouldn't
that.
that should not happen.
No, that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. I don't believe that's widespread. I'm not suggesting it never
But you are
happens.
familiar with that case?
No, I'm not.
Well, it was on the news about a week
Okay,
ago.
okay. No, I'm not familiar with it, but if that happened, then it shouldn't have happened. I know there's other times where somebody wants to buy property, but we might have some plans for it. Like if there's some property in the McKeith area that he's buying up, and somebody wants to buy a piece of property in the middle, what you're doing, you're setting yourself up for a problem. So there's some things that we do there, and people get frustrated by it, but we don't want to just say, okay, you got an idea for this property, do it. We want to do things in a more strategic way. I'm not saying it's a perfect system, and that obviously is a situation that should have happened. The first question, I'm sorry, was
The first question was,
the millionaire
Yeah.
that was. Here's
another
the thing.
Rex
Here's the
comes
thing.
along.
Here's the thing to keep in mind. In the end, you're voting on this. Rex can spend all the money he wants and try to influence all of you, but in the end, you get to vote on it. The people of St. Louis. And in my view, I trust you if you're armed with the facts. This is your government. If you don't want the earnings tax, then you know what? I think it's irresponsible to get rid of it unless we have a plan to replace it. But let's talk about, is there a better way to tax people? And if there is, what is it?
well, what can be done?
And that's a discussion, by the way, that the business community has agreed to come to the table and do once this is over, to see whether or not this is the best way, and if not, what is a better way. But whatever it is, you're all going to have an opportunity to vote on it.
What can be done to preclude that from coming under?
Okay,
and
the
it-
5 years, the
Yes.
5-year thing, it would have to be done up in Jeff City. Somebody would have to introduce a bill in Jeff City and to change that in some way.
And someone would have to put up the money.
Yeah, there is a bill up there right now. I just don't think it's going to go anywhere this year. I know we've got 5 years to do this. But, yeah, I don't like the idea we come back every 5 years. I don't have a problem, though, of looking at ourselves and making sure, hey, is this the best way? In fact, back in '98 or so, when I was chairman of East West Gateway Council of Governments, I put together a commission to look at the earnings tax and come up with ideas on, is there a better way to tax? And we came up with